You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
And today on our Friday review show, real excited about this one today. I have 3 amazing products to bring you. 3 things that I not only use in my own practice, but I share these with my family. I share them with friends. I share them with other health practitioners that I mentor to improve their own ability to get their own patients and clients that much better results. And I want to start with this first one. So it's a book that sold over 500,000 copies. A book is really good, or at least people resonate with it if it sells that many copies. That's an enormous feat right there. So keep in mind, like a lot of the bestsellers, they started about 25,000 copies. This sold over 500,000 copies. Now, the amazing thing is, and that like what gets me so excited, because I'm like a little kid in a toy store when I find out about a new great book that people have known about that I haven't, is this book called Healing with Whole Foods. So it's been around for over a decade. It's an amazing book. I purchased it last week after finding out about it, and it's by Paul Pitchford. So I believe you can buy it right on Amazon. We'll put a link to it at least, and I know you can definitely get it in bookstores like Barnes & Noble. And I believe even in some natural health food stores, which is where I saw it. So really excited when I got to see a new book that a lot of people talk about, a lot of people rave about, and I get to read it again for myself then, really for the first time, and share that now with you. So it's a big book. I'm not going to lie to you. But the nice thing is you don't have to finish this overnight. Like this could be your 3-month project to read. It is 500 pages or so, and then the rest of it is recipes, and it's an appendix and all of that great stuff. But the thing is, if you read a book like this, you're going to exponentially increase your knowledge base. You can't help. This is just a foundational based book, meaning like you're not going to cure the world with this book right here, but you're going to be so much healthier, and you're going to be able to talk knowledgeably with really anyone when you read this information. Plus, what I'll say is this. A book like this gives you a little bit of information on a lot of different topics, okay? It's what I like to say, it's enough to be dangerous, right? But then you can use that information right there to do further research, to read more books on the topics that interest you. And this is also a great book if you have a family to start learning about now so that you can better help your children. Highly recommended. Again, I don't usually recommend books that in-depth and that much, especially books that are this large, because to be honest, like a lot of this information can be confusing. And if you do decide to pick up this book, I don't want you to be confused by it. Like I don't want you to say there's too much, I can't implement it all, because you're not supposed to. All I want you to do is understand and reinforce your thinking with that we need to eat more whole foods, that a lot of the things like our water supply is polluted, that there's a lot of things in our water that we shouldn't necessarily be drinking. So we want to stick more with spring water or with some type of really purely filtered water, and no, Brita does not work to filter water correctly. But again, I'm not a Chinese medicine practitioner, okay? I'm really not. This is a book that talks a lot about Chinese medicine. I studied Chinese medicine. I actually went to China, and I lived in a Chinese hospital and worked not actually in the hospital, but I lived about 200 yards away from the Chinese hospital and worked in it for 12 hours a day. And so I did this because I studied all around the world to be able to then bring you and everyone in my practice what really works, right? What really works in life. I was committed to finding out why everyone says their form of medicine is the best in the world. Everybody, right? Nobody says my form of medicine is the worst. So I said, okay, let's see really if your medicine is the best in the world. Okay, so my job was then to say, yeah, who's right and who's wrong? Well, it turns out that everyone was right. They are. Their form of medicine is the best in the world, but only for a specific person at a specific time in their life and need. That means that if someone comes to you and you as a practitioner only know one type of medicine, you cannot fully help that person. Now, it's not easy, and it took an unbelievable amount of kind of research and study to get there, but I certainly believe that I feel it's the best that I can do. It's the most fair thing I can do is when someone comes into my practice or I speak with them on Skype video, that I can then see where they're at and then pull from all the different forms of medicine to do what's right for them. And that's the best I can do. And I feel, good about being able to do that. And ethical that I'm treating them in the fairest way possible. This book does start with Chinese medicine. So again, I don't use a lot of Chinese medicine in my practice. I use more Ayurvedic medicine mixed with state-of-the-art functional medicine and lab testing. But I use everything. I use iridology. I use, you name it. I use whatever's needed for that person. But it gives you a foundation. I think that's really nice. And it's just for the first 50, 60 pages of the book. Then it looks at your immune system. It looks at excesses and deficiencies, dietary nutrition. It looks at detoxification, water, certain proteins and vitamins, oils and fats, sweeteners and salts. What else does it go into? Vitamins and supplements and all sorts of different things, okay? So although I don't necessarily agree, again, with 100% of what's in there, it's a general overall basis. This practitioner, Paul Pitchford, could not give you everything specific to you, but he gives a good outline. Okay, enough about that book. It was more like a philosophy that I wanted to share with you, but it's a good book. Okay, second up, we have a product in my practice that very few people know about it. They just don't know and haven't heard about it, but it's a great product and it's been around forever. It's called French green clay. All right, so French green clay is something that we use for psoriasis, eczema, any type of skin rash or skin-based condition. We use it a lot like bentonite clay, but this specifically is called French green clay. And or even like a candida-based rash, is to pull out the impurities from the skin. So you take a little bit of this clay, it's just green clay, that's literally what it is. We mix it with a little bit of water, okay, just to make a mud, and you place it over the area that's infected, basically the rash. Now, of course, you should only do a quarter-size test area, not on a part that anyone can see, the first time you use anything topical on your skin. But this is an all-natural clay that comes from France and it's green. That's all it is. And so it's dirt, basically. It's mud. And mud, with a lot of things like bentonite clay, they have these certain magnetic ionic-based properties. This is scientific research, by the way. This isn't me making it up. And it pulls out impurities from the skin right there. So this is a great mask that you can use on your face. Again, you don't have to have a skin rash. It just helps pull out the impurities from your face. I use it as part of a natural-based beauty regimen recommendation for people, as well as, again, for those skin-based rashes. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that you're supposed to use this for eczema, psoriasis to be the cure, but it certainly can help from the outside. You should obviously work on those things from the internal perspective, the inside perspective. Do an organic acids-based test. Do a food sensitivity-based test. Look at the state of your gut. Your gut is most likely has increased permeability. You're letting protein seep out, bacteria seep out. That's getting into your bloodstream and it's causing skin-based issues. Again, you can test that. So that's how we use it. Now, the other thing is I also have used it with people as what's called almost like a natural acid peel for the face. So if you've never heard of that, it's not as scary as it sounds, but you mix in a little bit of apple cider vinegar, Bragg's apple cider vinegar. Okay, you gotta shake up that bottle first, get a little bit of that flaky stuff in the bottom called the mother. You mix that in with a little bit of water, a little bit of the apple cider vinegar, or just straight apple cider vinegar. But again, you have to test it because apple cider vinegar is very acidic on the skin and it can leave it a little bit red. So again, you might not want to do this before going out to a big event, but you can mix that with the apple cider vinegar with the clay and then put that on your face. It may stay wet the whole time. Unlike the dry dries and starts to crack a little bit after like 20 minutes. Then you can take a warm washcloth and just wipe it off your face. Now, the apple cider vinegar may not allow it to fully dry, but again, you can leave it on your face for 5 minutes, 10 minutes or longer if you've tested it to see how it is. And that will actually pull off a lot of the very minute first layers of skin to give you a natural peel to basically replenish and rejuvenate your skin. So great product. I'll link it up in the show notes and then you can check it out for yourself. See if it's the right fit for you. And the last product I'm going to review for you is it's called CalMag Max. Okay, so what is that? It's by Integrative Therapeutics. It's an excellent product. There are many products like it. However, this is a pretty unique product. And the reason is this. If someone comes to my practice, they've done a hair tissue mineral analysis, I see that they're off. Their calcium is quite high and their magnesium is quite low. That's in a lot of people. Let's say it's about 80% of the people that I see. Now, that's a normal stress-based response, normal fight or flight-based response, normal adrenal resistance phase or alarm phase response, okay? So these are physiological things that you can check with a simple hair tissue mineral analysis. Very inexpensive. You can check that out. Again, just go to stephencabral.com/store for all these different lab-based recommendations to see if they're the right fit for you. And then what I'll do is I'll typically start out with the magnesium-based product. A lot of times it's magnesium glycinate, and sometimes it's a citrate if we need it for sleep. But after that, after about 3 to 4 months, depending on the person's constitution, depending on what type of body type they are as well, I'll move them more towards a calcium magnesium-based product because in the long run, it is good to get both calcium and magnesium into your body. So this one is very close to a 1-to-1 ratio. Calcium's around 140 milligrams for this product, not around, it is, and magnesium's at 166 milligrams. So again, very close. And we do that because you get a lot more calcium, well, at least more people get calcium from food than they do magnesium. So you can use different levels of calcium and magnesium, and the levels of calcium you're supposed to get on a daily basis are higher. But again, we get more from food, so we don't need to supplement as much, right? Because supplements are used to supplement our diet. And we just know since our foods are so devoid now of really healthy nutrition, supplementation does make a lot of sense in most cases. So this product, though, the other reason why it's unique is that it's a combination of different chelates or chelates that are bound to these minerals. So what does that mean in normal speak? Well, calcium and magnesium work very differently in the body depending on what they're bound to. So let's say, for example, you go to the hospital and they need to give you a laxative. They'll give you magnesium oxide, meaning that they'll use these oxide-based molecules and they'll attach that to magnesium. And when that happens, your body absorbs very little of it. And when that happens, that acts as a laxative. It just moves right through your bowels, okay? But when you bind or magnesium is bound to something like glycinate, the absorption is much higher, which means it's not used as a laxative and it gets deeper into the body. So this product binds it with many different forms like malate, which is a great way to increase malic acid, which is a great thing to start that Krebs cycle, right? Malic acid, malate is going to be an integral part of energy for the Krebs cycle. And it just binds it to about 4 to 5 different molecules per calcium or magnesium. So that means that if you don't want to get too much just magnesium glycinate or too much magnesium citrate, well, magnesium in this case is also bound to aspartate, lysine, and malate. So it's a nice product. It's a unique product. We use it in my practice right now, so I figured I would share it with you. And if you're someone that's done a hair tissue mineral analysis, you might get your initial recommendations of upping your magnesium and then eventually 3-4 months later switching over to a product like this for longer term use for healthy body, healthy bones, healthy nervous system. Hopefully, everyone, this was beneficial to you. I love doing my Friday reviews because, again, these are things I use every day for myself, my family, and in my practice. And please do share them, these recommendations, healthy recommendations, with any friends, family, loved ones, coworkers, anyone you believe it could help. Thanks again for tuning in to another Friday review, and be sure to come back tomorrow where we answer all of your questions on our house call editions. Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well, finally, is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now at equa.life, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquaLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests, or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.